Hello ladies and gents, in this video we will talk about XML fragments in UI5. Using the XML fragments we can split our UI code into smaller pieces, which then improves code readability and reusability. So let's begin by creating a new folder inside our view folder and name it fragments. And inside let's create a new file and name it create product.fragment.xml. Now what I want to do here is I want to take our form and button, so these controls right here, and I want to move them to a separate file, our new file here, and load it from there instead. First let's initialize our fragment definition. So we use the core library and say fragment definition. And of course we have to define the namespace for the core library. And as you already know, it's in SAP UI core. And I will just cut our button and our form here and paste it here. Let's format this a little. And we have a few errors because we are missing these namespaces, so let's add those. The default one is sap.m, and form is missing as well as L for layout. I will just copy those from here. Layout and form. I will cut actually because we no longer need it here. Layout and form. Okay, now we are good to go. Now let's use this fragment in the app view. And how we do that is again from the core library. We now say fragment simply. And we set the type to XML since it's an XML fragment. And we say fragment name equals the path of our fragment file. So we begin with the namespace as always, UI5 product.list.view folder .fragments folder then the name of our file without the extensions. So it's create products. Let's save it and go back to our application. We see that it still looks the same. If we go to the network tab here and search for fragment, we see that our fragment has been loaded separately. Now let's remove the creation part completely from the app view and instead display it as a dialog when we want to create a new product. We begin by wrapping everything in our fragment by a dialog control. Let me create it here. It's also in the M library, so I simply say dialog. And there are a few attributes we need to set. First one being the title. And let's say I18 and create new product. And let's create it. Okay, this is the title of our dialog. Next we need to specify a content width. And I will set it to 800 pixels because we have quite a wide form. And that should be enough for now. Let's close it. And we have a content aggregation. It's content, yeah. And we move everything inside that aggregation. Let me cut and paste. Okay, let's fix this styling a little bit. Alright. Now I'm going to add two more aggregations. First one being begin button. And for that I will simply take this create button. And for the next one it's called end button. And I will create a new one. Let me copy this one and I don't want it to be emphasized. The text I want is cancel, and let's say on press cancel new product. We save. Now we need a way to trigger this new dialog. For that, let's create a new button at the top of our list, and I will convert this to a non-self-closing one because I want to add another aggregation here, which is called header toolbar. And one of the children we can use here is the toolbar control. Now first I want to display a title here, so I create a title control, and as the text I will just copy our header text here. And since we are using this header toolbar aggregation, this header text attribute becomes irrelevant. It will be ignored, so I will just remove it. Next, our button. Let's give it an icon. And for the icons, let's see where we can find those. It's this website named Icon Explorer. You can just search for it, SAP UI5 icons. And you find the Icon Explorer. You select SAP icons, and the one we are going to use it is named add. So it looks like this, just a plus sign. And the syntax is SAP-icon : / and then the name of the icon, which is add for this occasion. And let's add an event handler for the press event and say on press add new product. Now one more thing is I want these at the opposite sides of the toolbar, and to do that we add a toolbar spacer here. I have a typo, toolbar spacer, yeah. Now if we save and go back, we can see our title and we can see our button, which is not doing anything yet. So let's also implement this event handler. And we go to our controller. Let's do it here before our private methods. And here we are going to load our dialog from our fragment and then show it. Let's create a command here shortly, load and display the create new product dialog. And how we do that is we need the fragment from the core library, so we say SAP UI core fragment. We import it as a dependency, and then we say fragment.load, and we pass in an object. The first attribute is the ID, and we will set it to the ID of our view, so we say this dot get view dot get ID. This is going to make sure that we can access these controls with IDs from inside our fragment via this method. And the next one is the name of our fragment, and let me actually copy it from here. And the last one is named controller, and we simply point to this controller here, our app controller. This means the event handlers inside our fragment will be living inside this controller file. And this load function is going to return a promise, so we say then, and it's going to resolve with the contents of our fragment, which is our dialog control here. So we get the dialog control, and first we need to add it as a dependent to our view. We say this dot get view dot add dependent, dialog. And the reason for that is we have some bindings in our app view, like the i18n model, and we also want to have access to those inside our fragment as well. That's making sure of that. And then we simply say dialog.open to display it. We save and go back. Click. I think we have an error. Let's say key duplicate ID, because we are loading it here and we also have it here twice. Let's remove that and check again. Okay, nice. Now we see our dialog. Let's update the button text first. Don't like the way they look. We actually forgot to add those. So let's see. This one I will rename to just create. And let me also copy this one. Create and cancel. Okay, now this looks better. Now we cannot close it at the moment, so let's begin by that. From our cancel button, this is the name for our event handler. We go here and implement it. Now in here we need to call the close method on our dialog, but we have to have access to it first. So what I'm going to do is, once our dialog is loaded, I'm going to save a reference to it as an instance on our controller. So we say this dot underscore or dialog equals, actually let's name it create product dialog equals all dialog, and now here I can access it like so and say dot close. Now if we go back, open it, cancel it, and if I try to open it again, I'm going to get an error. Very similar one, adding element with duplicate ID, because what's happening is we are trying to load the same fragment twice, and we already have some unique IDs here, so they clash. What we can do instead is, first we can check if we already have this dialog here loaded. So let's do it. We say if exclamation mark dialog. So if it's not existent, we create it here, and else we just simply open it. So we say dialog dot open. Now let's try. Can open it, cancel it, open it again. Now we have no issues. If we go to network, we can make sure of it. Let's refresh. So there is no fragment. As soon as I click on this add button, it's loaded here. But if I close it and edit again, it's not going to be reloaded again. Now let's check our create logic. Here we said on press create new product, and it should already be here. We implemented it before. Let's see if it still works. Create Dr. Pepper is a beverage. 1.5 euros this time. Released 3 days ago. Discontinued yesterday. Now I can see the new product, but we should close this dialog automatically once a new product is created. So let's also do that. In here, after we add a new product, we say close the dialog. And again, let me copy it from our event handler. Save. We try again. Dr. Pepper beverages, €1. and some random dates here. Okay, now everything looks as expected. That will be all for this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.